Hey, Gospel Guitarist here with another episode of the Studio Essentials series. And today I'm going to talk about all the little things. These are all things you're going to want to have available in your studio pretty much all the time because you never know when you're going to need any of it. Starting with the simple stuff that we all pretty much recognize here. If you're a guitar player, bass players, mandolin players, ukulele players, string players, you're going to want picks and an assortment of picks. Always keep a good supply of picks around. Just the type of pick can completely change the texture of the music that you're performing. So instead of adjusting EQs inside your software and recording devices, going from a thin red pick to a thick green pick can make a whole world of difference in the tone. Going to an Alt-Text pick would change it completely. Has a nice warmer tone, but it has a nice sharp attack. Not so much slap, where these have a lot of slap, and just playing different picks will change what your recording sounds like. Always have your cables available for your guitar players and mandolin players. You want to make sure everybody's in tune. So have a tuner. This is a bass, a chord bass and guitar tuner. You want to be able to tune whatever's available. You could also have a chromatic tuner for other stringed instruments and things that can be tuned. Keeping your strings in an orderly fashion. You want to have some tie, or not strings, your cables. Cable ties are essential. Have a few of those extra laying around in your studio. When you're doing vocals, this is going to save you a whole lot of time. Putting a pop filter in front of your microphone. Keep these available and keep them clean in your studio. Eliminates all the little pops and hisses and smacks from your lips and things like that that you cannot edit out later. Those things get in the video, in the audio recording of the vocal track, and you cannot get them out. They are very difficult to EQ out. That's a little bit of my early experience before I bought any of these. And it's just way better to go this route, folks. So keep some of those around. Strings. Sometimes you just forget to swap out your strings. And so if you have some on store that are not in your guitar case, they're in the studio, ready to go for your acoustic electric guitars, maybe a set for your bass, a set for mandolins, ukuleles, things that you might be dealing with. Keep different types of sets available. So that way you can quickly swap out a bad sounding set of strings. On the tool side of things, sometimes you need to crawl around behind your racks. You're going to want a flashlight. It doesn't have to be the big mag light like I have here. I usually just have a small mag light laying around. But it went bad, so I have this big guy to show you. That way you can see what's behind your rack when you're passing cables. Sometimes they're dark. This will check all your outlets in your studio, making sure that everything is grounded. So basically you want to do this when you're putting your studio together, but if you're getting a weird hum somewhere from 60 cycle and you don't know where it's coming from, pass this guy in and see if you can find a bad ground in one of your outlets. So the first place to start anyway. The other place to start is to get a cable tester. So this will test, this is a Behringer model CT100 here. It'll test all of your mic and line cables, MIDI cables, RCA cables, and it shows you how the cables are wired with these LED indicators here. The other thing you want to keep in your studio and supply are AA and 9-volt batteries or rechargeable batteries in your rechargeable system, and a battery checker so that you're not, it could be something other than a battery causing a problem. And so you want to have your battery levels checked before you start a session because batteries can go dead pretty quick, especially if you're using wireless systems. The other thing for guitar work anyway, guitars, basses, and mandolins, I guess just pretty much any of the popular stringed instruments, you need a kit. So if you need to adjust any bridges and tighten up rattling nuts and screws and changing your strings. If you have one of these kits, you can do a complete setup on an instrument if you need to. You can swap your strings out. You can tighten loose things. You can adjust the pickups or whatever you're doing. Even just clamps on your mic stands and things like that. You have a universal screwdriver. You got all your hex keys. You can tighten things up that are loose in your studio. It might be nice to have a little knife around. You never know when you need to cut or scrape something off or in your studio. It's just always good to have a knife around. For cleaners, you want to have your Ultra Duster plug here. No, have your compressed air can around for cleaning out your computer, blowing off the fans, blowing out your mixer, fader areas, and just keeping your work zones clean. And then you have the fader Deoxit F5, which is used on your faders for analog and digital. And then you have your Deoxit D5. So this is used for your guitar jacks, for example, and plugs in all of your rack equipment where you're plugging cables in and out and mic cables and all that kind of thing. Piece of advice here is do not use Deoxit D5 on your fader. It will eat them. Not the handle, but the inside. It will mess up the faders and gum them all up, and you'll never get it done. You have to have them replaced. So only use your fader Deoxit on the faders, and use it very sparingly, and only use it if you ever really need it. Don't just feel like you should clean them and clean them. You don't want extra stuff in your faders. Just leave them alone unless there was a problem. So that's a pretty quick overview here of all the little gadgets you need to be laying around in your studio. I keep all this stuff, well, minus this and the flashlight, in a drawer, the same drawer, so I know where everything is. The picks are usually laid out. These are laying out the capo, but the tools and things are where I know where they are. I don't have to take much time to find them, and especially if you're in a session you want to fix things right now, real quick. If you are charging people, it's time, and time is money. And they don't want to wait, watch you waste their money. So go over everything in your studio. Make sure everything operates before you start any sessions. If you're doing it on your own, then you can do it whenever you want. But if you want to start working with other people, you need to make sure your studio is in proper condition so when they show up, you don't have to worry about problems. So that's my advice. Get all this stuff here. It really wouldn't cost, it don't cost, this is less than $100 worth of stuff here probably. Well, maybe a little more. 100? Maybe? But none of it's expensive. Just slowly buy a piece at a time and build up your little protective arsenal here. And you'll be good to go. So I hope you learned something. And well, click like and share the video. Thanks for watching.